gentlemen, family friends, old, young, the Damn Do Executive Board, my name is Chris, Sean's best man, and at what I suspect will be an exponentially decreasing rate over the next 5 to 10 minutes, one of his best friends. Before I begin, I'd like to say a few thank yous, and these will rattle on a bit, so feel free to take sips of your drink in the meantime. I'd like to start by thanking the mothers and fathers of the bride and groom. Let's give a big round of applause here for fathers. Sean, Laura's going to explain that later. I'd like to also thank Susan, Rachel, and all of the other brides and flower girls for looking after Laura so well. Let's give a big round of applause to them all. What can I tell you, people? This morning, hours were spent carefully crafting hair, skin, eyes, and mouth to the picture of beauty you see before you. There were tears, arguments, and drama, but we got there in the end, and I think Sean came out looking pretty good. The groomsmen, of course, deserve a bit of thanks as well. These were the men that Sean handpicked as some of his nearest and dearest to help the day run smoothly. I say were because they all cancelled and some guys with the buttonholes turned up instead, babbling on about some kind of damn do. Cheers to them. And then finally, I'd like to thank Sean and Laura for inviting us all to this wonderful day, and inviting their charming, handsome and erudite friend to be best man and deliver this speech. Unfortunately, he also said no, so all jokes aside, Laura, today you truly are the flower of Scotland, as Sean will no doubt be singing to you later. Those of you who know him know that's very true. Over the next 5 minutes, I'm going to take you through my own personal potted history of Sean Stokes. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's a bit late for a warning, but I'm afraid this is nothing of the sort. Instead, I'm going to show the Joyce contingent, clever, decent, and deeply principled young man they just added to the family. It gets worse, don't worry. He is what Sean the banker might call an appreciating asset. Sean, I know you're a big fan of the movie Top Gun, so please consider this the last bit of wingmanning you're ever going to receive. Now, before I dive in, I want to say that writing a best man speech is a horrendous balancing act between being just bawdy enough to get a laugh out of the filthy minded among you, I know who you are, but just clean enough to leave no offence to the bride, groom, or their parents, with whom need I remind you I'm sitting for the next hour. I can announce that, especially for the Stokes-Joyce wedding, I've developed a dynamic and innovative solution to this age-old problem, which is that every time I slap the table like this, just imagine instead that I'm saying something such as Sean or Laura are going to discover or say later on. That way, those of you who want a more bawdy best man speech can appreciate a more bawdy best man speech. Those of you who don't can let it safely fly over their heads and enjoy some nice things I'm going to say. And that way we can get through the next 5 minutes quickly, efficiently, and with minimal embarrassment. So, Sean and I first met in a government and politics class at Banbury School Sixth Form, taught by the excellent Dr. Carter, relieving the long-suffering Abe over there of his Sean care duties. I sat on the opposite side of the classroom to Sean, where we underwent a bi-weekly battle of the blondes, or so he thought. For while Sean was competing to get the most right answers, I had privately decided to try and get the most wrong. I'm proud to say that after several resits, I soundly won that little competition. And while our group bonded over trips to the sort of pubs that welcome groups of teenage boys, it was always with a heavy heart that Sean would take off his dressing gown, put down his book, and get in on the action. That was letting a lot more burn there, but again. Top of the class, Sean's dream was to come back to school one day in a flash car and help a few mini-me's on their own careers. At just 31 years old, he is remarkably close to achieving this. Indeed, Sean was so clever and studied so hard that he eventually went to the University of Birmingham. People from the University of Birmingham, can I get a cheer? They're all down there, good, we can get them out quick. I asked him how he managed to pass his dissertation. He told me that each night he struggled through the stress and self-doubt, forcing himself to perform through sheer tenacity and a full bottle of Merlot. You knew that one was coming, come on. You can join in if you like. But he passed, moving up to Scotland back in 2013, following a brief internship at Coots, which, as he may have mentioned once or twice, as some of you may know, is the Queen's Bank. That's Coots, the Queen's Bank, which is called Coots. You had an internship there, didn't you, Sean? Where? Coots, the Queen's Bank. Anyway, He passed moving back to Scotland in 2013 and managed to go on to work at RBS, which is the owner of Coons, which is the Queen's Bank, which led to him getting even more qualifications. This has now left Sean with enough letters behind his name to spell the following words: focaccias, moccasins, and fashion, which I actually think sum him up pretty well. Anyway, during his time studying, working and struggling for a 6-hour daily skincare routine, somehow Sean managed to meet a young woman called Miss Laura Joyce, which, for those of you who don't know, is that Laura there on the stage. A very embarrassing speech if not. Sean had gone through the odd heartache before, but as soon as he met Laura, he found, in the words of our great playwright Christopher Marlowe, that once he had tasted heaven, all else is hell. Sort of like the first time you drink Yorkshire tea. Very good. It's one of a guy from Yorkshire, so I hope that would get a bit of more of a laugh. Anyway, Sean, Glasgow tea, whatever. Sean, the banking strategist, and Laura, the primary school teacher, worked in very different fields. One looks after groups of children, squabbling over who gets the most and refusing to play nicely, and Laura just teaches kids. While this was never a barrier, I thought I'd give Laura some handy corporate phrases that you can use for Sean when he comes home and his head's still in work. So first of all, my annual life event, team building, was hampered by your post-working week performance, which the team agreed left much to be desired, which means, Sean, you got far too drunk this weekend on my birthday. The second one, I feel that if you proactively search for time economies, we could enhance the efficiency of our attendance at this engagement, which of course means, Sean, finish getting ready, we're late. And then finally, let's synergize, baby. I met Laura not too long after this. Sean brought her to my parents while they were still courting to a Eurovision house party. I guess you could say they were still making their mind up. Oh. I know who's old enough now. I certainly revealed a lot of ages. Of course, Laura, myself, and many others here have done their fair share of holidaying with Sean. Laura, I see with Sean you visited exotic locations: Greece, Croatia, California, Leeds. None of these illustrate Sean as a decent man more than our trip to Montpellier. Visiting Adrian. Adrian, give us a wave! Hopefully that won't be said later. Myself and many others here have done their fair share of... I hope not. Anyway, visiting Adrian, we decided to do what British tourists do best, which is buy warm lager, head to the beach, and refuse to wear sun cream. We, of course, got very, 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 very burned. Now, when I say burned, I don't mean a bit pink, no. I mean we look like red glow sticks in chinos. Having previously mocked Sean for bringing his absurdly expensive moisturiser, he still, in his mercy, decided to share this to relieve ours, and I have to admit, mostly my own suffering. Yes, Sean was a 20-something man that would spend over £30 on a moisturiser only sold in thimblefuls, but he is also the sort of man that would share this with his mates in need, obviously after his 6-hour skincare routine. That's right, never fear, friends. Sean is always on hand with a bit of cream. And now you realise why I had to institute that rule. After going out for 7 years, and after many a drunken confession of love for her to the rest of our gang, Sean finally plucked up the courage to propose in February 2020. A heady time full of promise and excitement for a couple of years of 30th birthdays, partying, and all-round good times. And then obviously the pandemic hit. Now, Laura, I must confess to you that when you agreed to marry Sean, that was not the first time he'd asked for someone's hand in marriage. We heard this earlier. But of course, by your own account, his previous attempt just 30 seconds before was not proper enough. Now, you got the glossed over version earlier, but I'll give you the real truth now. Timidly taking out that beautiful engagement ring. Give us a flash of the ring, please, Laura. Timidly taking out that beautiful engagement ring, Sean had done a sort of demi-lunge, that I'm not going to attempt to do in a kilt, for obvious reasons. However, certainly Sean had attempted it so that he could keep his trousers clean. Laura was not impressed. To do it properly, Sean needed to get back down on his knees. But Sean, a man of principle, who never errs from the course he knows is right, did as he was told, and thus here we are at your wedding. I struggled to find a significant enough ending for this speech. I thank God. The go-to for these, there's still another page, don't worry. The go-to for these things are some stolen lines of poetry. And so in sympathy with my struggles, I turned to that famous Scottish poet we all know and love. You all know who it is. Say it with me now, come on. William Dunbar. Yeah. All right, well, we've read different people then. William Dunbar. Dunbar, no, it's not caught on yet. Dunbar, Glaswegian poet from the 15th century, famous Scots Mackay. He said, and I quote, "I seek about this world unstable to find and sentence convenable." That didn't work. So I then found another quote, which was, "He clap it fast, he kissed and chuck it, as with the glacis he were overgain, yet be his fears he would have..." Oh no, we can't do that. So devoid of others' poetry to lend poignance to the end of my speech, I'll try my best to round it off with my own words. Sean and Laura, without love, life would be nasty, brutish and short. That's still not right, sorry, that's stealing from your politics. Laura, I've tried to show how Sean is a clever, decent and deeply principled young man. To put it bluntly, in this age of me, Sean is only ever thinking about us. He'll stand by you at your worst and champion you at your best. He has an ear for all hours, a mind for all problems and a man for all seasons. Knowing Sean has been and always will be one of the greatest honours of my life. And Laura is a force of nature, Sean. Actually, she's probably a bit more forceful than nature. A brilliant woman who pushes all around her to be better than their best. You haven't so much captured the heart of our friend here, Laura. You've helped him to make it. You've welcomed his friends and family with open arms, even if a lot of us are English, and built a beautiful world for the both of you. And I do really mean this. Laura, you've done more to welcome Sean's life and build on it than anybody could reasonably expect. Case in point, not only did she manage to keep Sean's stag do, or damn do, a total secret, she also helped organise by packing, providing disinformation to the groom, and receiving over a dozen packages to her house, none of which she opened. That's pretty impressive. Can you get a round of applause? I'd be curious. Indeed, Laura was so supportive, she even provided Sean's measurements, although was a little quick to provide his inside leg. Sorry. Laura, thank you for being there for my friend, putting up with his attempts to use Scottish words whenever he gets the chance, and still allowing him to attend your birthday parties after the last one. In all seriousness though, to call you Sean's equal would be a compliment indeed to Sean. But I do wish you both a long, happy and healthy life of love together. The Scots word for marriage is posad. I'm probably saying that wrong, posad. I do apologise. But it's also the word for union. And I hope I don't speak out of turn when I say for all of your family and friends today that we will forever be united behind you both. I'd like us to raise a glass for the life and love you've already built together and the life and love you're yet to live. And can I just say, lang may your love reap.